Good afternoon, everybody. Heading home. It's Thursday evening. It's the end of my official patient seeing work week. Because we see patients Monday through Thursday, and if we have emergencies or special appointments, we'll come in Friday. But Friday is the day that I try to dedicate to getting caught up with stuff in the clinic, helping with staff training, helping with the office manager, but also with Movable University. This is where we work on a lot of Movable University stuff. Because I practice full time, and then we also have this program that we share all of our stuff that we developed in practice to help other chiropractors duplicate what we're doing successfully. So side note real quick, what is Movable University if you're just joining us? Movable University is a program that we've been working on for the last couple of years, and we have over 120 doctors around the world who are part of it so far, and it's growing every single month. And you can find out more at www.movewelluniversity.com. It's funny I said www. I don't think I've said that in a long time. But you can find out more at movewelluniversity.com. And that's where you can find out a little bit more about the program, how it works. If you have more specific questions, you can schedule a discovery call. We get on the phone within 5 minutes. We'll let you know if we think this is even a possibility in the way that you want to practice in your practice model. And we also have a masterclass on there that you can click a link on that page I gave you. You can watch a masterclass that goes in more detail. It's about 90 minutes. And you can get the free book. So we have a book that we ship out for free as well. So there's a bunch of different stuff, a bunch of resources. But what I wanted to talk about is remembering your chiropractic roots. And what do I mean by that? Is that's what makes us different. That's what differentiates us using corrective exercise and a functional movement approach in practice compared to a physical therapist or a personal trainer or anyone else who's going to introduce or show a patient some sort of corrective strategy exercise protocols. It's not the only thing that makes it different. This whole system we have uses functional movement concepts, which means we're looking at restoring full movement patterns, not just small isolated approaches. We're measuring movement, we're correcting movement, and I think that has a much greater, far-reaching corrective effect. So now, with that said, just to reiterate, the systems we do are different than a physical therapist. They're different than a personal trainer for sure. But even more so, what makes us even more different that you're doing this as a chiropractor is that you have something to offer your patients that no one else does, which is finding and fixing subluxation, okay? Finding and fixing a segmental joint problem in their spine, or extremity for that matter, but let's talk about spine right now. Specifically correct that problem, or at least reduce that dysfunction at that segment, the segmental dysfunction, whatever you want to call it. So literally get a joint moving properly, help possibly restore some of the movement of the joint, okay? The whole bone out of place model we know is not valid, it's not right. We're not adjusting a bone and moving it, a quarter of an inch and it's staying there. But to an extent, you can change the alignment of a segment with certain types of adjustments. Someone has a really major retrolisthesis and you're setting that segment posterior to anterior, P to A, and then you have other corrective strategies in place to help remodel tissues to influence that joint to further go more P to A. You better believe you can change that segment on a comparative x-ray. You absolutely can. Now there's other things that you typically will have to do in these bigger cases besides a adjustment, and the adjustment needs to be precise and it needs to be spot on. It can't be a gross manipulation. So now, remembering your chiropractic roots. Chiropractic started with specificity. And, if you all know anything about me, my background, I started in chiropractic with Gonstead. I mean, that's how I was introduced to chiropractic. I've never known anything other than a specific approach to trying to identify which segments in the spine were problematic and then develop a hands-on skill to be able to properly palpate down to those segments, identify those segments, and do our best to influence those segments and not just do a gross manipulation. So, where does this matter? Where does this come into play? There's a patient that I just saw him this afternoon. He started last week. And he's in his early 70s. super nice guy, take care of his son and his daughter-in-law, and he finally came in because he got into a crisis. He hurt his low back bad. Never had a spine complaint, never had a symptom in his entire life is what he claims. Comes in with his wife, he's shuffling his feet, he can barely even stand up straight. He's in a ton of pain. We all see people like this. Okay, but here's the deal. I'm assuming the run-of-the-mill chiropractor who learns gross manipulation doesn't really learn proper case management. And when I say proper case management, yes, I'm saying this from a soapbox perspective. I'm saying this with a bias. In Gonstead, we learned a lot of case management of really upping our confidence to handle a super acute low back pain patient, for example, a sciatica pain patient, to be able to actually adjust a segment. Where I hear this in our town all the time. Patients are like that. They go to these other doctors around other chiropractors. Everyone's afraid to adjust them. They don't know what to do. They don't have the confidence to do it. They don't know how to actually move a bone and affect a joint. And I'll tell you, that matters. So my take, me, the guy who promotes this Move Away University thing, that's all about corrective exercise and rehab and all of this, it comes after a foundation of specific chiropractic. If you don't have a specific chiropractic piece, there's certain cases you're just not going to be able to help, and you're not going to be able to catch their attention long enough for them even to care about this rehab piece that you have, this corrective piece. Because in so many cases, it's the specific adjustment, it's the skilled adjustment that gets the person the biggest boost of initial results. Now, granted, if you don't follow that up with corrective approaches, how long is that going to last? How much stability is that going to provide? And in a lot of cases, not a whole lot. So this guy who I'm referring to is definitely a candidate for corrective care. He has a huge abnormal postural shift. His rib cage is shifted way backwards. He has what's called a posterior thoracic translation, huge loss of lumbar curve. His pelvis is extended like crazy. All the situations that will make someone super prone to having a lower lumbar segment easily subluxate posterior and inferior. This is something we can draw out at some point, just so this makes a ton of sense to you. But he shifted backwards, and his spine is basically having like a posterior load, almost like a posterior shear load going backwards. So it makes it very easy for a segment to subluxate a little further, posterior, inferior. Sure enough, his fifth lumbar is like this. Anyway, we're setting this guy. First couple adjustments I did with him, I adjusted him prone on a high-low table. Piezoform contact, fifth lumbar spinous. He's tall enough so I can contact it with a piezoform and be confident that I'm on a small fifth lumbar spinous. If it's a smaller patient or smaller spinous that we see on the x-ray, we're setting it with thumbs, double thumb contact, so it's very precise as well. Because we want to put the majority of that thrust into that fifth lumbar joint. We don't want to be on two segments when we are setting up. We want the majority of that force to go into that segment. So anyway, first couple adjustments worked on him, helped him a lot. He had a really bad pain in his low back, didn't really have a whole lot of radicular pain. After 2 visits, started having severe pain right in the bottom of both gluteal folds. So he would always say, "Oh, this is so intense in my buttocks," and he would talk about this. And so what I did when he came in, I actually made this first thought error in the beginning, just because of everything that was going on with him and the findings and the posture he had been in for so long. I figured, you know what, his pain is likely from a muscular component. And I've adjusted him. We got him out of his first major low back pain portion of it. So okay, let's start some other protocols with him. And I kind of made a little bit of a thought error in that, and we started working on some other protocols, and it just came right back again. And a problem with that radicular pain in his butt. I mean, it didn't go very low, so like a very small distance of referral from fifth lumbar. But I was handling it and looking like it was more of a muscular component that we needed to work on. So anyway, yesterday he came in, and it was like going downhill again. The pain was so intense in the buttock area, and I tried setting his fifth lumbar prone again, and I couldn't really get it to move all that well. Barely got a little movement out of it. So I put him on his side and did a finger push move, which is people call it a pole move, but very, very important that when you do a pole move, you're not twisting the person, you're not rotating their spine, you're going P to A through that segment, through, in his case, L5. You can grab that fifth lumbar spinous with like a finger contact very precisely, and you can set it P to A really nice. So I put him on his side to set L5, didn't know how he was really going to do, and I set it and I buried the thing. It moved really, really well. Right at L5, he felt a big clunk right at L5, and he got up and he said, now that is something. Now that is, and he kept saying that, now that is something. And he was walking around, and this like really severe, like 9 out of 10 pain that he was having for, the 48 hours prior was instantly gone. It stayed gone. I saw him today. It stayed gone until 10 p.m. It stayed gone until 10 p.m. last night, and I'll flip my story around. I saw him 2 days ago. So it lasted an entire almost like 2 days. So it stayed gone until 10 p.m. last night. Comes in today, he's telling me all about it again, talking about his buttocks. This pain in my buttocks, it's just unreal. But when you did that, that was like a switch. He just turned it off. And so today, what do you think I did? Put him on his side, pulled his fifth lumbar, clunked big time again, got up, totally fine, 100% gone. So the moral of the story is to actually keep that in place. We're going to work on his posture. We're going to shift him forward. We're going to work on corrective exercise protocols, more precise first to increase pelvic flexion, to make sure that his posterior chain, hamstrings, things like that are somewhat toned down, so his pelvis can flex a little bit, because he's in so much pelvic extension. And then we'll be addressing all his functional movement protocols, because he has a bunch of dysfunctional movement patterns that we need to be addressing with him. And I'll keep adjusting. But the moral of the story really is that you have to stick to your chiropractic roots to really get your patient's results. And I, for a second, was like, okay, his pain right now, his issue right now is more muscular. It's more of now maybe a rehab protocol. And it wasn't. It was an adjustment. It was a specific adjustment, and I put him in a different position to set the bone a little bit further. First couple times it moved well prone. After that, things obviously adapted and changed in that joint, and it wasn't going to respond in the prone position like it did the first time. So we put him on the side, pulled it, moved really, really nice. So stick to the chiropractic roots. If you don't feel like you have chiropractic roots and you want to learn more about specific chiropractic, I'm biased, but I would say go to a Gonstead Methodology seminar. Gonstead Methodology Institute teaches really great work. It's not stuck in the 1970s, meaning they're looking to progress. They teach the work how it was before, but they also have a lot of newer concepts and things that they've discovered over the years. They teach those, very cool. And I really think it's very important for chiropractors to have a solid adjusting foundation for sure. So if you feel like you don't, that's a great place to learn it. If you feel like it doesn't matter, I would argue that I think you're wrong. And if you're already confident with your technique and you're getting great results with a specific adjusting approach, good, more power to you. Just make sure that when you start putting corrective exercise and rehab and functional movement in your office, you understand that's important, but it doesn't take the place of a specific chiropractic adjustment. And that these things work beautifully together, but it's important that we remember that, we remind our patients of that so they understand what that is and what makes us so unique in this food chain as far as we're a chiropractor doing corrective exercise and functional movement. So very different than if you went to a physical therapist or an orthopedist or a personal trainer or anyone else. We are in a completely different position as chiropractors doing functional movement. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say. Slightly different theme of this discussion today. But if you want to find out more information,